薄いのアホ。プリズムパワーメイクアップオーカードレディー。
Welcome to Shojo and Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, June 30th, 2018, we'll be shoujo and telling about the series Magic Knight Rayearth by CLEF. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined by Asher Sofman. What's up, Asher Sofman?
Not much. Ashley McDonald.
Okay. Asher, who are you besides the person that was on the Maid Sama episode that people may or may not have listened to?
Well, I'm Ashley's roommate from college, which is obviously the most interesting thing about me.
I mean, definitely.
Definitely. It was an interesting time, honestly. I was a rabbinical student. I have since left that path and am now looking for, I don't know, I guess that's not relevant. But
if anybody has a
you're
job
in Florida and you have a job for me, I'm great at communications, although maybe that's not so obvious from this introduction. I'm great at writing. I was a writing major.
He is good at that.
I'm okay at that, you know?
Yeah.
I also like manga, and Magic Knight Rayearth is one of my favorites, and one of the first ones I ever read, if not the first.
Okay, I feel like that explains a lot. Because reading it, I was kind of like, this is Asher? Asher wanted to be on this one? Seems too serious for Asher, but...
Oh, it wasn't serious at the beginning. It was all nice and cute, and
then it took that dark clamp turn.
Yeah. But actually, I think the 6th volume, I was reading that again. I was like, oh my God, if you read this, like, you can see where I got all my adult beliefs about how the world should work. Ooh, boy.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. The 6th book is pretty Asher, if you ask me.
It's true. It does end on a hopeful note, so...
It sure does.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
You want to give a plot synopsis? Can there be a plot synopsis given
There
about
can.
Magic? Okay.
There can. All right. So Magic Knight Rayearth is a 6-volume series split very clearly into 2 parts. In the first part, 3 young women, age 14, are kidnapped from Tokyo Tower by a magical being who asks them for their help to save this fantasy world. They go on your sort of typical JRPG adventures to get their weapons, get their magical evolving armor, and unlock the spirits or the machine. I actually don't know how they were translated in your copy, Ashley.
It was MASHIN.
IN. Okay, yeah. It was translated as spirits in mine, so it actually lost that awesome double meaning.
Oh, yeah. See, Asher was reading the Tokyo Pop versions, and I read the Dark Horse versions. And I'm not sure. I think that just creates more confusion and inconsistency within the fandom. Who knows? I'm pretty sure Machine is the real thing, though.
Machine is definitely the real thing, because back in the day, before those Dark Horse publications came out, they were called Machine by, the people who read it in Japanese and thought they were better than everybody else.
Cool.
So I knew they were called Machine, even though they're called Legendary Spirits in my version.
Cool.
But you lose the cool machine joke.
Yeah, I was like, that's a very clear machine joke in both languages. Okay.
Yeah. So they have to unlock these machines and rescue Princess Emeraude, who is the pillar, the princess of Cefiro, who holds up this magical world with the force of her prayers. They are told she has been kidnapped by her own high priest, Zagato, who, is depicted as this large, tall, beautiful hair, creepy man. And they fight some of Zagato's minions as he tries to stop them. It's very... If you've played any basic RPG, you have played this story.
Yeah. If you played Final Fantasy X, you've definitely played
Final
this story.
Fantasy.
If you played
any Final Fantasy. The only difference is that their weapons and armor evolve instead of you having to buy new ones at every single
there's
stop.
no currency that is exchanged.
Yeah. you know, Clamp didn't want to deal with that, and they still got to draw all the different kinds of armor they wanted. So, you know, win-win.
Win-win. Good job. Okay, so Asher, why is this your favorite series? Please explain it to me in a non-spoilery way, if you can. Yeah, you're like,
I didn't even summarize the second half.
That's true, but I feel like that's all spoilers.
It is all spoilers. Are we not? Oh, this is the unspoilery part. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you stopped me.
Stop. That's why I was like,
Yes.
can it be explained? No.
It cannot be explained without spoilers. But I am almost completely sure the first manga I read through from start to finish. I had read little bits and pieces of Cardcaptor Sakura before because it was on TV at this time. But I found Magic Knight Rayearth back in Barnes & Noble when I still went there. And
When bookstores still existed, yeah. I know.
yeah, and I just devoured it because this was middle school. I read this, I think, when I couldn't have read it before I was 11, correct?
I assume. I don't know. When
I'm
it came out
pretty
in
sure
English.
it was published in English in 2001.
Okay.
It started, or some of the books were 2001. And as a young person who did not identify as male at the time, having these heroes that were girls and awesome, and the art was so pretty, and the little chibi things were so cute. Like, this was incredible. This was
I can't think of a word good enough for this.
incredible. It's such an empty sounding word. But, like, having these characters and this adventure that was everything I loved in an adventure at that age, and all female-led, was awesome. It was super important to me. I have read these books so much. The first one has completely fallen apart. The binding is completely gone.
You should
and
buy the new Dark Horse one so you can see how everything is spelled now.
spelling is an illusion.
Okay, yes, true.
And the fifth and sixth books are also a little bit falling apart. I had to be careful as I was rereading these. I took them to summer camp with me. Hikaru, formed some of my understanding of what a hero should be. Although going back now as a 28-year-old, I'm a little, less interested in her. But no, there are still interesting things about her. The things I found compelling as an 11 or 12-year-old are not the things I find compelling now.
Okay, but does it still hold up now?
Oh,
When's the last time you read it before now?
There are parts of it that don't, like characterization.
You wanted the characters to be consistent? Lol, funny.
It's only 6 volumes long. They could be consistent.
They could be, but they're not.
But they're not. And the development of relationships leaves a lot to be desired. But the art is still as gorgeous as it always was. Even if in volume 1 it's a little rubbery, there's something a little weird about it in volume 1.
Okay.
But in the second half, it's just so freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, there's also so many spreads where I'm just like, yes, please give me
Right?
more spreads of badass girls being badass.
Right? And oh my god, I have not read a Clamp manga in a long time, and they make no attempt to justify having all that gorgeous hair everywhere, and I don't want them to justify it. I just want more of that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Emeraude's hair is it's incredible.
That's what you really read this manga for, the hair.
Yeah? What do you read it for?
I'm in it for the girls with swords. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that too. Obviously.
So many things to be in this for.
I'm kind of sad. Fu got a different weapon than a bow.
That's true. That didn't
feel like-
need to happen.
No, I feel like Clamp didn't. I feel like Fu suffers the most from Clamp not knowing what to do with her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it starts with Hikaru being the cool person, admiring Fu, but that lasts for literally a page, and then Umi suddenly becomes cool, And Fu,
Right.
like, no longer is, like, this silly character. And I'm like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, and I think that has led to Fu being the most intriguing character for me now. Because, like, what on earth were they trying to do? And I like the... well, we can talk about characters when we get there.
Sure. I will say that I never read this before because I'm bad at all the things, I guess.
No, you're not.
Sure. But I did really like it. It's very pretty. It reminded me that, you know, Clamp is 4 people and they obviously switch around who leads what, and that's why the art is always different. I had a lot of Tsubasa feels, which is both good and bad, I think.
Oh, it's Tsubasa. For those who don't know, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles is one of Clamp's later works that borrows heavily from all their previous works. Like, the whole point of it is that it's like a... What would you call it? It's a crazy crossover.
Yeah, like just one massive crossover.
Yeah.
And more, like, targeted to be shonen instead of shoujo, like they normally are.
Which is a mistake.
A mistake.
I think it was a mistake. Like, I think Clamp really shines in bringing these crazy stories to shoujo. But I guess we can talk about that later, too.
That's true. It's like, you know, what's great about Rayearth, too, is the mashup of many genres. Like, you get mechs, which is, like, awesome. girls and mechs, give me that. More of that. Like, no dudes in mechs. I mean, there's, like, a dude in a mech, but, like, he doesn't care.
Give me, like, not quite as sexualized girls in mechs, because there are girls in mech series that are a little...
But this is just, like, nah, these girls are just in mechs, and they're still...
I mean, they're a little
clothes.
Sexualized, but, like... In sort of a way, Clamp sexualizes everything, so it's
Yeah, I was
equal
like,
opportunity sexualization.
Yeah, everybody's sexy in Clamp manga.
Everybody is super gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's fun about Rayearth is just this. But like when you put that in a shonen manga, that's just what a shonen manga is by default,
Yeah.
you know? Like.
Also, I guess the one thing, I guess I didn't say what one thing I really love about Rayearth is, like, yes, initially it drew me because of, you know, girls with swords. But I think the second half is really what has long had staying power for me, is the sort of the inversion of the heroic tropes that the first half sort of sets up.
Yes. It definitely had a lot of twists that I was like, you know what? That actually did subvert what I thought was going to happen. Damn it.
I don't have that luxury anymore. I've read this
yeah.
too many times.
You're like, I've read this 10 million times, Ashley. I know exactly what's happening.
Roughly. But
Cool.
then of course, then I go back and I'm reading it and I'm like, oh no, this has such tragic, foreboding whatevers.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna stay on this light, fluffy RPG path, but no.
You expected that from Clamp?
What a fool! I know, right? What a fool!
You fool! You fool!
Such a fool. Okay, as we have mentioned, we have alluded to, this manga does have several translations in English because it was initially published by Tokyopop back in the day when Tokyopop existed. It now exists again, but it lost all its licenses. That doesn't really matter. They're getting new licenses, whatever. That's fine.
I have a question.
You have a question?
Mix manga, was that Tokyopop?
I don't even know. Let's look it up. Oh God, yeah. Apparently, it started as Mix Entertainment.
Okay, all right. Then yes, it was published by Tokyopop first.
But anyway, now it is published by Dark Horse because Dark Horse got a lot of the Clamp rescue licenses when Tokyopop went under, I think. Clamp publishing in America is just generally very confusing because then Del Rey had a lot of them for a while, but Del Rey died. Now Kodansha basically gets all of them. Publishing is confusing, and I'm sorry, people who don't work in publishing. That's basically it. You can get all 6 volumes for pretty cheap from Dark Horse too. I bought the digital editions for $23 total. It was dope. So buy that.
That is so much less than I paid for these. Oh man,
that's right.
Do I have the price on here? Nah. Oh yeah. $11.95. 16
Ew, that's
years ago.
Disgusting. Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. For a book whose binding fell apart completely.
Gross.
Yeah.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go hit you up some Dark Horse editions, y'all. Okay. I guess we should also acknowledge that there is an anime.
Oh, God.
Neither of us has watched this anime, right?
There's actually 2 anime.
Right.
Yes. I have watched bits of both. Oh, man. There's a funny story in that this was back in the dark days of anime and manga.
Right.
Where you got random crap at the video store. This was back when videos existed.
Ew.
And yeah. You really just grabbed what you could get. And first we grabbed Rayearth. First of all, it was the 3rd one of 3.
Cool. You really wanted to know what happened.
Yeah. So we grabbed this Rayearth OAV, and the OAVs are super, super dark and weird and very different from the story.
As OAVs do.
Yes. I was in middle school, so I was like, what is happening? I don't remember this happening. And then the anime, it's like the actual anime that is not the OAV, is not as dark, I believe. It is physically brighter. The OAV is actually dark looking. And it has the same 2-part division as the manga, but it's a lot longer. There's a lot of filler, honestly. And the second half introduces like twice as many characters as the second half in the manga.
Yeah, what I read is that the first part of the anime seems like it's like mostly faithful to the first part of the manga, but then the second half of the anime, they diverge a lot.
Yeah, it adds more of the like fantasy adventure stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that is all to say that if you have only watched the anime, I cannot guarantee that you will follow this discussion super well.
I mean, the story's the same.
Okay.
Mostly. I mean, I didn't read
no
the
guarantees.
Yeah, fair enough.
And now we are going to spoil all the things because obviously, I feel like this happens a lot in shoujo manga where there's like the light and fluffy first half that draws you in with like a premise, and then it's like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to destroy that whole premise in the second half. We're going to get real dark. Here's the like life sucks and gets real arc.
Is that really true?
I think it's for the most part it's true. I think that's why it's frustrating. Like part of the reason I didn't want to do a shoujo anime podcast is because I feel like all those arcs are always left out. Like the stuff gets real arc is never there. It's always just the light and fluffy first half.
I don't know if that's a shoujo manga thing so much as any ongoing story ends up getting darker. I feel as the authors get comfortable in what they're allowed to do.
Well, sure. I don't want to say it's like every series, but like distinctly for some series. Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm thinking One Piece does it. Naruto definitely did it because it started out with like school and that's
I feel like it manifests very differently between shoujo and shonen though.
True, yes. I think shoujo actually ends up subverting more tropes. I was thinking about this earlier today.
Right.
That shoujo and female creators are more willing to bring stuff further from mainstream. Right.
And I think, just the way that shonen will manifest it is just like, well, at first we're just fighting for this thing, but then really we're fighting, like, it just will escalate the stakes, kind of, which makes it darker, because then it's like, oh, the whole world's going to be destroyed. Like, whatever, fine. Right. But, like, shoujo manga is like, and now I'm going to go for your feelings and, like...
And your beliefs.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to alter your worldview. What's at stake is not the world. What's at stake is your worldview.
Well, sometimes it's also the world.
It's both, which is even more terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I think worldview is definitely more terrifying than world, because with shonen, you always have the belief that the world is going to be saved in the end. Not so with Shojo necessarily, I think.
Yeah, no, I really never expected to end happily.
Well, you should have known when this was an Asher series that it would be okay.
That's true. I really should have. I was like, oh boy, I really feel like, is she going to become the pillar? Like, I really thought Hikaru was going to be the pillar and then, like, have to break the cycle some other way.
She is.
That's true. It just got all wacky.
Not at all clear.
It's not at all clear what happened here.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It's fine. Everyone's happy. Although they did say it's not perfect. They did say that.
Because nothing can be perfect.
Nothing can be perfect. But it sure looked pretty perfect to me.
You're like, it ended pretty perfectly in my mind.
I mean, everyone was happy. They were having a picnic. Eagle was taking a real long nap.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, tell me about the three main characters and their struggles and why you do or do not perhaps like them.
I like all of them.
That's
I don't
good.
think there's a character in this thing I don't like.
Oh, that's nice.
There are some that didn't make a huge impact.
Yeah, well, like there are a lot of characters and there's only 6 volumes and I was just like, why are there more?
Yeah. Well, I like the new characters. Well, obviously I have a bias towards the second half of the series. Okay, but we can talk about the girls since they're in both and they're important and they have to make an impression. Are we starting with Umi?
You can start with whoever you feel like.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you're starting with Umi.
Well, see, it's confusing because, right, Hikaru is the main one, but she doesn't get her. Then it's like, well, you got to reverse it because she needs to get her machine last.
Yeah. Well, she got her magic first.
Yeah, that's why it was confusing.
Well, she is the main girl. Well, no, yeah, that's fair to say. She is the leader.
I think that's
She's
fair
the
to
strongest.
say. She is the Magic Knight of the Rayearth.
That is true. Rayearth is hers.
Yes.
All right. Let's start with Hikaru then.
Okay.
I loved Hikaru. I have always loved Hikaru.
You will forever love Hikaru.
I will forever love Hikaru. I found her slightly less interesting this time around. I think just because I'm 28 years old and her archetype is one that I've seen a lot by now and have grown away from myself. But I've always appreciated her, boyish nature, although now I have to question, like, why does boyishness make her cooler than everybody else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing I struggle with always, Asher, forever and always.
I know. I haven't needed to struggle with it quite as much lately. Yeah, but I always liked her. I love her dog. Her dog is gorgeous. That is not a dog. I think that's like a horse.
A wolf.
Wolf. Yeah. I question why her dog is named Hikari when her name is Hikaru. That must be confusing.
I was like, did I read this right? Okay, I did. That's not cool.
Yeah. But it's awesome to have like a small go-get-'em fighter girl,
Yeah, I'm all about it.
I know you're all about it.
I loved Hikaru the most.
You did? I wasn't sure if it would be Hikaru or Umi with you.
It's just like Hikaru has the most consistent characterization out of all of them too. I think that's part of perhaps her appeal. Because, Umi and Fu, and for the first volume, I was like, Umi and Fu, I kind of don't like either of you. Mm-hmm. Then it smoothed itself out, and I was like, okay, we can be cool, but, like, you're not my faves.
Right. I feel like Hikaru does have the most consistent characterization, but I feel like she also... There's something about that consistency that I didn't find compelling this time.
Well, you could also, on the flip side, I guess it's like perhaps she grew the least of them then.
Yeah.
I
don't want to say that because I think she did grow a lot between the first and second. Not between, but like from the first to the end of the second, I think there's much more strength to her and much more depth that they didn't really get into, actually, but it's there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what we were saying with all this like worldview stuff is kind of, the first half is all light and fluffy. They had a quest. I mean, I did always question why they never questioned the quests, because I was like, y'all have not been given enough information about what you're doing. Like, you're just like been transported to this world and some people told you to do a thing and you're like, that's cool, let me do that. And I'm like, no.
Well, I think that's part of why I struggled with Hikaru a little bit more this time, is because she was never questioning any of it. Umi and Fu actually did from every now
That's
and
true.
then.
They did. They questioned like how things were possible, though, not necessarily why they should do a thing. Right? That's how I remember it.
Right, but Hikaru really bought into all of it.
Right, because Hikaru is a pure-hearted maiden who wants to go on a journey.
No, she's a pure-hearted hero. She's a shonen character.
Exactly. She's like, we're going on a journey right now, y'all. Just deal with it.
Yeah, like I also loved that all three of them were very into apparently RPGs. Like they knew.
Yeah, they were like, this
worked.
is an RPG. We're in an RPG right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that all of them had that nerd knowledge. Like I didn't realize until reading it this time that, that's actually kind of a weird thing for a 14-year-old character in a 90s in a manga from 93 to know.
Yeah,
a 14-year-old girl rather.
Video games. Well, video game discussion is a whole other like video games and gender specifically is a whole other thing that I think is fascinating. From my own personal experience, it was kind of like, my parents bought me video games because I don't think they understood the gender dynamics of it. Like, I think there was a period where it was like all cool kids play video games. Now it's become, I think, more of a gendered thing, which is weird and problematic, and I don't like it, but...
I agree. Sort of. I don't know if that was the culture or just our age, because, 93, I feel like... What?
We're three.
We were three, yes. Well, I mean, obviously this came later than 93,
yes.
Or to me, certainly. To you, definitely.
Came to me in 2018, y'all.
Yeah. Some of it feels really dated. But I feel like I don't think cool kids had video games in my experience, but like it wasn't gendered the way it is now. Yes, I think that is true.
Yeah. So that's weird and interesting. Fun. Video games, always a source of fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so like, the Hikaru is the one who's like most into it in the first half of just like not questioning this adventure and all these things.
Right.
And then in the second half is the most like devastated by having to have killed the princess and like been like, oh my god, this quest was not at all what I expected it to be, sort of deal.
Yeah. And in a way, she always is the most invested in Cefiro, so it's really not surprising that she won the pillar thing, even if she wasn't, the main girl.
Yeah, for a while there, I thought Lantis was going to become the pillar, but then I was like, oh, right. We kept saying that Eagle and Hikaru are the same. Sure, fine. Eagle can do it, too. Whatever.
I was surprised by how little Lantis figured in the second half.
Right,
I remembered him being there a lot more.
So cool. And then I'm like, y'all, you did nothing.
He was there to be pretty, which, I actually appreciate. Like, yeah, let the guy be there and be pretty and do nothing.
That's true. Just let him be eye candy for Hikaru. That's fine.
That is absolutely his purpose.
I love it. Great. But Umi and Fu, what do they do?
Are we okay? Fu. So I mean, initially reading and probably for years, I did not find Fu very she's so strange. And I think the inconsistency of her character was a turn off when I was younger. But now and sort of it's really hard to identify with Fu. She what she thinks and feels is much harder to read than Umi or Hikaru. Both because she's the smart one and because she's also the airhead. It was such a weird
Oh my god.
I feel like that dynamic doesn't turn up very often nowadays. But absent-minded professor is, it's a trope.
That's true, but it definitely came off as like for 2 volumes, I was like, is Fu the smart one or the airhead? I don't know.
She's both. She's both.
Why not both? That's always the answer, isn't it? It's always the answer.
I appreciate that duality of her as a smart person who is also not so observant.
You are Fu.
No. I still don't think that's true.
Okay, it's definitely just because of the hair and the glasses, but I looked at Fu and I was like, you're Anthe from Utena.
Oh, no, it's not just because of the hair and the glasses. She has that Anthe smile also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's also kind of like, the airheadedness plus being cunning, like, sort of lends itself to Anthe as well.
Yes, except with Anthe, it's all manufactured, whereas with Fu, it's sort of hard to tell.
We're not sure who's controlling Fu yet.
Yeah, and like, oh man, poor Fu. Like, she had the bow, and then she didn't, and she had the healing, and then she didn't. I mean, she still does, but like, she never does it again.
She still has it, but then all their wounds become, she's like, I can't heal your internal wounds. I can't heal your mental health. That's not a thing I can do, like.
Right. And also, like, after the first one, whenever they leveled up, they got all their HP back. But I think the fact that she faced herself in the trial is the most fascinating thing about the trial.
Yeah, why?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm bored of your loved ones are fighting you, but they're not actually your loved ones, so what is actually being sacrificed here? Nothing.
That's true.
But Fu's was her. She was really hurting herself. And then her response was like, I will just heal my wounds after this battle. And like, if that is not the most metal thing you've ever heard a 14-year-old girl say, like, dang.
I liked it because I was like, yes, like, I think her reasoning behind it was also interesting. I'm trying to remember the intricacies of her reasoning.
God. Her reasoning was that she values herself because of her family. Like, if she hurt herself, her family would be hurt. And I find that kind of weak. But they're trying to make these characters sympathetic. Like, they don't want
her to be selfish, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be selfish. I want selfish girls.
You're like, Fu, own it.
Own it, Fu. But no. Oh, and also, like, imagine, like, if the healer were selfish.
Ooh.
When do you ever see that?
Never. The healer is always...
Clamp, hire me.
Clamp. Let's rewrite Magic Knight Rayearth.
Oh, please let me rewrite Magic Knight Rayearth. I'd be so good at it.
Tell me about Umi.
Like, I like Umi. I don't actually have that much to say about her. She's just, like, relatable and likable. She, like, overreacts at all the things that normal people would overreact to.
Yeah, she's us. She's us questioning the things.
Yep. And she's beautiful. Like, what's not to like about Umi?
She is beautiful. It's true. She had the best uniform. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yep.
For the record.
She has the best hair.
The best eyes.
I don't know about that. Hikaru's are very pretty.
Okay. I'll accept that.
She also has the most ships, actually, in the fandom. Okay. In
the fandom.
I guess I can't say that.
Like canonically.
No, not canonically. None of them have a great number of ships. But, okay, my experience with the fandom is also 15 years old. Does anybody feel old yet? But
I definitely feel old.
People would ship her with CLEF, which I never liked as a kid.
No!
Yeah. I don't like it now either. Because they don't like Ascot. Is his name Ascot in your translation?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's his
But
real
also
name.
still no. I don't accept that.
Right. Yeah, CLEF is too old for everybody. And also a child at the same time.
And also his hair is stupid. Can't we just
His hair
throw that
is
out there?
stupid. I remember one of the reasons I reread book 5 so often was because his stupid tiara thing melts and his hair flops back down. And I was like, I just would go back to that page.
You'd be like, you deserve this.
It just looked a lot better.
This is what you needed all along.
Except that when that happens, he looks like Shaoran, and it's very confusing.
Ooh, I don't remember getting that vibe. Now I should go reread Volume 5.
I mean, if I look at this timeline, yeah, they started Card Captor Sakura right after they finished MKR II, so their art style is the same.
Well, but you can definitely tell that a different one of them is leading CCS.
Really?
Yeah, so that's what is confusing to me, is that I think I haven't read every Clamp series. I think I haven't even read like half of Clamp series, right? So
right, there's a lot.
There's a lot. So take what I say with some caveat, but like I think it explains my confusion. Is that when I read this Magic Knight Rayearth, I was like, oh, this art style seems more like new Clamp to me than old Clamp.
Oh no.
But then I was like, I think it's just because different people are leading it. Like Cardcaptor Sakura has far less shading. Like they won't do any shading like under the necks and like on their neck or anything and stuff. From what I remember. So
You're
like
right.
you can tell that it's different.
Oh no,
people.
you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's different people necessarily. They're a 4-person team, and actually in the back of the first 3 volumes of this, they have. Do they have this in yours where they have the omake stuff? That's all about the team.
No, I'm gonna go with no. There were 2 things in the second half about them like writing about their cat and about working on the anime.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Then no. I'm gonna go with no.
I don't think that's what I'm talking. No, it's not. So what they say is that in the back here of my mixed manga edition that is completely fallen apart, Nanase Okawa calls herself Clamp's leader. She wrote the story for Rayearth. Makona Apapa did the art. She did the character in the background art, rather. Satsuki Igarashi is the assistant designer and production coordinator. And apparently she cooks a lot, too. And
Hashtag relevant.
she's also drawn as a squirrel, I think. And Mick Nikoi did the final editing work and direction and drew the mini characters. And she designed Makona. So, I mean, that's what it says in the back of this. I would believe they just do slightly different styles. Like, it makes sense for CCS to be a little lighter and softer than Rayearth.
Yeah, like the lines are less heavy.
Yes,
Definitely.
but I think the shapes are the same and the eyes are the same.
That's
And
true. That's what tipped me off that this definitely is old Clamp.
Old Clamp, the character designs are so distinctive.
What do you mean? The shoulders? Is that what we're talking about?
It's a little bit what I'm talking about.
Those shoulders are fine. That's how humans work.
Oh, yeah.
How human men work.
Human men are 7 heads wide. And
Duh.
then their waists are 1 head wide.
Mm-hmm. Don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was eventually the eyes that tipped me off because I was like, no, new Clamp eyes have no shading in them. Like, they're all just black and black pits of darkness.
Yeah, and they've gotten a little bit better about differentiating bodies and faces and everything.
That's good. Good job, Clamp. Okay, so you like the second half a lot, but there are 50 million characters, and I don't know if we should mention all of them, but they exist.
They exist. I think the ones that are important to mention that are new are Eagle and Lantis.
Okay. Do you ship them?
Straight up.
I definitely do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're supposed to, I'm pretty sure. Clamp has never been shy about queer ships.
Well, until Clear Card, apparently. That's a different problem.
What?
Okay. What?
Now I'm not going to watch or read Clear Card.
Well, so I don't know if it is in the manga. That's the caveat. Watching the anime is definitely far less queer.
That's very disappointing.
I know. But yeah, Eagle and Lantis. As we said before, I really thought Lantis was going to be a bigger deal. He is the brother of Zagato, who was the lover of the princess, and that's why she had to die. She's not allowed to love anything but Cefiro to keep it going.
She has to actively spend all her time loving this planet in order for it to continue existing peacefully, which is terrible because these people are immortal.
I know, right? I'm like, what the heck is this world? This world is stupid.
Well, that's what they all concluded too.
Yeah, I know. That's fine, but like, it's so obviously stupid. Obviously not to Makona, who apparently is God. See, it all gets wacky.
It's super wacky when you realize that Makona is named after one of the clan
and they're God.
Well, she's the one that does all the art, so yeah.
God.
She is God.
Yeah, but Lantis comes and, like, his deal is that he wants to, break the world because it sucks.
Is that what they said?
That's what I got.
I guess that's true. He wanted to destroy the road to the pillar, is how it was translated in mine.
Right. But because he's, like, being the pillar is awful, right? Like,
Right.
The pillar leads to ruin.
I guess that would destroy Cefiro.
Yeah, and then it would die. So
right. Yeah, and he was down with that. I would be too if it ruined my life like it ruined his life.
And Hikaru has a crush on him for whatever reason.
Well,
because he's pretty. Well,
I wonder about that because like Hikaru seems incredibly oblivious to romantic love.
Yes, there are moments where they're like
moments.
All of the moments. What is it like? Lantis is explicitly like, what would somebody say to express their love or something?
And she said, will you marry me? And he's like, what does that mean? And she's like, be with them forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, is there anyone you want to marry? First of all, this is super creepy because she's 14 and he's who God knows how old.
He's like 5 times as tall as her. It's fine. It's fine.
It's Clamp.
Yeah.
And she's like, first he mentions Eagle and then Lantis, which I found hilarious. So she's like, Eagle and Lantis. And he's like, can you marry more than one person? She's like, nah. But I also want to marry Umi and Fu. And God, everyone in the entire world. Like, okay, Hikaru.
Yeah.
I will say that Magic Knight Rayearth fan fiction was my first introduction to the concept of polyamory.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely was lending itself to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I ship that.
Yeah, right? I'm like, yeah, marry Eagle and Lantis. Let's go. Fine.
Do it. And let Eagle and Lantis marry each other, too. Obviously.
Yeah. Duh. They're in a, they all love each other. It's a literal love triangle. What's Eagle's deal? He, for some reason, lives in a dystopian country where he lives in the now. He lives in the...
he legit, yeah. Autozam, if that was not based on America, I don't...
You're like, it definitely was. Yeah,
it definitely was.
Technological city that's like, why can't my technology stop the environmental erosion that is caused by the machines?
Why can't my planet polluting machines stop pollution?
I know. I don't understand. Why can't I build a machine that does this? So then they want to steal the pillar system to save the world, right?
They do. Eagle has other plans. He wanted to become the pillar for Lantis, basically. He didn't want Lantis to suffer and lose his planet because he loves Lantis, yes. I mean, God, who wouldn't? Look at him. Exquisite. I don't know anything about his personality, but he is beautiful.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all you need to know.
Yeah. And so he was going to become the pillar and immediately become brain dead. It was his plan.
Right. Of course, obviously.
Right. So he was going to move all the people of Cefiro to another planet and put Cefiro and his pillar system into eternal sleep for Lantis. He didn't really care about Autozam.
Yeah.
He lied to his dad.
Aww.
Oh, and to his dad friend.
Also, saying Autozam over and over has, in reading about their weird names, apparently they are all named after cars.
Yes. Eagle and Lantis is actually named after a car, too.
Yeah, everybody's named after a car. This is what I learned.
Oh, everybody?
Like, almost everybody, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess. Zagato sounds like a car.
I don't know about Zagato, but like Tata and Tatra are definitely cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who would name a car Tata? Is it because of her tatas?
Wait, what? It's some Indian car company, apparently.
Oh. Okay.
Also, these had to be cars from the 90s, so it's even worse now, right? Like, we're like, do these cars exist? No, probably. Like, Autozam. Such a dumb name.
Oh, I get it. Because they were all traveling on roads.
Ah! Autozam! And they're cars and they're on roads. It's the Utna movie, okay?
Everything is cars.
Everything
Did this come out before or after Utna? Certainly before the movie, right?
Movie? Well, let's look it up. Utna movie. Oh, it came out in 1999.
Yeah.
Utna's copying Magic Knight Rayearth.
I mean, if you think that these guys didn't read each other.
Oh, I definitely think they did.
They definitely did. Do we have any other characters to talk about? Other Cefiro guys? We should probably talk about Makona.
Yeah, we should probably talk about God. Why not? That seems easy and doable. Please tell me about God. You're 3/5 of a rabbi, so like you must know.
I'm a rab.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It seemed very cool as a kid. It seems a little pat now, although maybe that's because so many other stories have come out with themes like this since this.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm struggling a little. So I am firmly in camp free will. Everyone should, have their own choices. So, like, the end result of Makona's little experiment here is appealing to me, but it's so self-congratulatory, I guess, that I feel weird about it.
Interesting.
Which I guess is less about Makona and more about the destruction of the pillar system, but I guess that goes hand in hand. Or little weird marshmallow paw in paw.
Whatever Makona is.
He's a pillow pet.
Yeah. I was just like reading this end and I was like, I think my brain is broken now. Like, I don't.
Makona created Earth.
Yeah, Makona created the Earth, y'all, so
yeah.
Bow down to
And then
Makona.
he got so upset with it that he made the pillar system.
And Autozam. And
theoretically Autozam and Chizuta and Faran, although it is never... He said he made Cefiro, it never said he made those other planets.
That's true, but I like to think that he did. Maybe the black Makona.
I think it's more interesting if he didn't, because then where did they come from?
No, the other ones came from the black Makona that's in
oh, right.
XXX Holic.
That guy's in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles too, isn't he?
Well, yeah, because they cross over. It's the crossover in the crossover. Don't you see how meta it is, Azure?
I never finished XXX Holic.
Neither
I finished
did I.
TRC.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, no. I find XXX Holic pretty boring, to be honest.
Fair enough. Wow, that's weird. We don't usually agree on that sort of thing.
No, I know. It's magical, isn't it?
Although we both liked MKR, so that's exciting.
Yay! That's because it had badass ladies in it.
Yes.
Yeah, Makona is God. I still don't know how to feel about this.
Oh, I do like that Makona did help them in the end. That even Makona, as creator, as God, is not immune to wanting to help. Is Makona a boy? Are we using male pronouns for it?
I don't. Did they? I don't remember.
I don't remember either, although gender pronouns in Japanese is always a question.
Yeah, I guess it's like I'm probably projecting Suasa Makona.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
things
whatever.
onto it. They were like the bro pack, It's
Right. I think they did call him he in my translation at least, but we can't rely on that being...
We can try to use it.
It sounds so...
God, I'm going to keep calling...
Dehumanizing. Dehumanizing a little.
Makona isn't a human.
Well, were humans made in his image?
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently.
Question mark.
Question mark. Were humans Makona's creation? Yes.
Yes.
So Makona, in the end, so Hikaru becomes the pillar, and then is like, I don't want Eagle to die, though. And then is like, Makona, stop being a little brat about this. Let me bring Eagle back, damn it. And then Makona's like, okay.
Well, what Makona does is send Umi and Fu to help her.
Right,
So-
because Umi and Fu appeal to Makona, being like, no, we fought together all this time. Why are you being a little brat and making us fight apart now?
Right. And I think there is a strong message here that I don't think I picked up on at least consciously as a kid, in that you can't be alone. Like, human beings are not meant to work alone. And I found that, like, I found that being explicitly stated to be very nice, I guess.
Yes.
Like, it's nothing new, but I forgot it was there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially after talking with so I went to visit Loyola, who's also been on this podcast, right? And we had a discussion about, of course, my favorite thing ever, the Hunger Games. And she was like, I hated the ending. And I was like, why? I don't think it's like that bad. Like, it can be a little cheesy, but the book is definitely less cheesy than the movie, at least.
Right.
And she was saying that she hated that, you know, in the end, it reinforces this idea that Katniss and Peeta and Haymitch, like, need each other to survive. And I was like, I feel like that's a fairly realistic portrayal of humans, though. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think it's good that they didn't, like, leave Haymitch by himself. Like, Katniss and Peeta are kind of a foregone conclusion, but...
Right, but she was, like, saying from a mental health perspective that it's not good that, like...
No.
They're not taught that they can survive without each other. And I was like, I think that they could. It's just, it's easier when they're together, you know? Like,
Yeah, and I think that they do need someone around to talk to who understands what they went through, and nobody else is left.
yeah, like, most other people are dead, so...
I'm still upset about that.
And it's a similar thing here, you know? Fu and Umi and Hikaru killed a princess together, so they need to stick together.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Ku, Fu's sister, said that she needed to talk to someone.
You need a therapist.
I don't think that's something that, like, I don't see that a lot in Japanese creations in general, and certainly not like, I wouldn't expect that in American creations in the 90s.
That's true. Even though Japan's all about, like, community and stuff,
They're about community, but they are not about weakness or accepting help or
Yeah.
talking
Right.
or mental health.
Perhaps they're getting there, like America's getting there.
Right.
Slowly. Surely.
One can hope.
Yes. But besides Makona being God, we've got lots of other mechanics going on that are
Oh, sure.
strange and fascinating and fun.
What else do we want to talk about?
Well, this power of belief clearly has limits, right? Or does it?
Well, if one person can uphold the entire world, I am not sure the system itself has limits. People have limits.
Okay. That's a good point. But, I guess I like the mechanic of Fu not being able to heal people's hearts or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, that doesn't seem like it's limited by her belief. That seems like it's limited by
No.
something else.
That would be, well, when everyone's will decides things, you cannot override that will, I guess is the thought.
I guess.
Like, Princess Emeraude could not change Zagato's heart. And, I mean, I don't think she wanted to, but I'm sure
the key here is that she didn't want to, so
she didn't want to. But like, I think there is an unstated, you cannot change other people. Otherwise, we would have seen more like actual legit mind control. The only ones we saw do that were Caldina, which seemed more like a body thing, like they were not mentally present, and Asuka, who definitely it was just a body thing. Like we saw Umi struggle.
Right. We saw like strings, like them being puppets.
Yeah. So I think that was an unstated limitation.
Unstated limitation. To believe.
Oh, but Zagato did mind control Lafarga, who is Rafaga in yours.
You really don't like him being Rafaga in mine.
I think that's harder to pronounce. But that also seemed like an external thing, even though it was mind control, because he had those marks on his face and his eyes were all funky. So it didn't change him, and he was able to revert to his normal self. It was something on top of him in a way.
I see.
It didn't change his will.
I like the acknowledgement with the character of Asuka. I feel this is what happened with Asuka. Mm-hmm. Is that, you know, she is portrayed as like the silly, kind of delusional about her own power one. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that there was at least an acknowledgement that belief can come from people who are just delusional, you know?
Yeah, I do like that. Like, have you noticed that some of the most powerful characters are depicted as looking like children?
Yes.
I found that as a young person really powerful. Like, I noticed that as a 12-year-old. And like there is a strength and simplicity, like you can see it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
How old is Cefiro supposed to be?
I don't know. He's younger than CLEF, he's younger than Emeraude. That is all we know.
He's just a dude. Yeah, he's fine.
The only one whose age okay, we know 4 people's ages. And that's CLEF and the 3 girls. Yeah, CLEF is 745. CLEF is 745 and the girls are 14. And then I think, I don't know, there's something so weird about the way age is handled in this series.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. Mainly with Ascot.
Right. Okay. Wait. What happened with him? What was this? Please explain this to me.
Canonically, according to Caldina, he got bigger to impress Umi.
But his belief made him bigger. Is that?
I think that's what happened.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine.
He became more mature as a person, I think, due to Umi's influence. Also,
well, yes, that part was more believable than him just growing to be a 8 foot tall person after being like a foot tall.
God, I wish his eyes became normal. Whatever.
He couldn't manipulate his eyes.
The eyes are the window to the soul, you know?
Yeah, so he had to keep those.
Right. God. The other person we saw with a dramatic physical change is Emeraude, actually. And that happened to her after she lost Zagato. So there's something, I guess, about love and wanting to be like someone else and be close to them in that way that I'm perhaps completely reading onto this situation based on 2 people.
No, I think that's valid. I think that is definitely something I did not actually pick up that heavy on.
I mean, the other thing is that like tragedy makes you mature, which
well, yeah.
I don't like, but
of course you don't like that.
I never like that.
You're like, actually, tragedy just breaks you and makes you sad and cry a lot.
I mean, it doesn't have to break you either, but like people can become stronger through, you know, surviving tragedy, but I don't think tragedy itself and suffering is a value. I think that's a very Christian mindset.
Yeah, it's stupid Christians.
Well, I mean, it's in other religions too, but like, I don't know.
This is the one thing you can't deal with.
It's the one thing I can't deal with. Suffering is not a value. It's what you learn from.
Right, but then you need to suffer to learn from it.
you need to expend effort to learn things, not necessarily suffer.
True.
Because suffering teaches you how to suffer.
Which isn't helpful because you shouldn't suffer. Cyclic cycles.
I mean, suffering is a part of life. It's there. Like, learning how to endure suffering or get through suffering or take things from it is of value. I don't find suffering itself to be of value, no.
Fair enough. Hikaru breaks that cycle. That's why you like this.
Yes.
I'm curious what we think about the use of mechs in this.
I think it's a funny joke. Machine!
You're like, there's nothing else to it. It's just a dumb joke.
I don't know. Maybe it's because in my books, like, I can't open the pages real wide, so I can't actually appreciate the mech designs all that well. I also like the machine, I guess. I like the spirits better when they're their, like, animal-like selves before they become the mechs.
Yeah, I mean, the fire wolf one is dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes back in TRC.
Because it's so dope.
So dope. Rayearth is hot.
It is.
But, yeah. I don't know, like...
I kind of feel like they were just
huge...
there.
They were just there. I liked that in the mechs, it felt like they were just under their own power. That was cool. I liked watching them do things as the mechs. Or rather, I liked watching the mechs do things represented as the 14-year-old girls. I thought that was more interesting. They have more expression. They have more prettier hair.
They get, like, a wardrobe upgrade.
Yeah, like, and when I watch mech shows, I'm never in it for the mechs, so I guess I'm not the best person to ask about, like, mech design. Do we not?
Well, the designs are certainly interesting.
They are.
They're unconventional.
But they're kind of hard to make out on the page.
Yeah, they definitely... What I read briefly on Wikipedia, I don't know what this was citing, but it was definitely talking about how Clamp was, like, apparently complaining that because the mechs are so large, it's hard for them to, like, portray anything else aside from just draw the mech on the page. So that's why they, mostly just drew the girls.
And good for them.
Yeah.
Although I did like seeing the difference in the weapons that each country brought to bear in the second half. Like, watching the machine fight Eagle's FTO, that was cool.
I feel like the fights don't leave an impression. Clamp fights are so hard to follow, I feel.
Yeah.
Because there's so much is happening, so many lines.
So much is happening. Yeah.
I remember, I distinctly remember sitting for, like, minutes just staring at Tsubasa pages, trying to be like, what is going on this page? Like, I must follow the lines very carefully.
Yeah.
I feel like for this, I was just kind of like, they're fighting. It's fine. I don't particularly care.
Yeah.
Are there any other fun mechanics that we want to talk about, or should we talk about the darker things?
Ooh, let's talk about the darker things.
Dark things. Okay, you want to talk about suicide and agency first, or what?
Sure.
Okay. I guess my first question is, do you think that Princess Emeraude committed suicide?
No.
Okay. Defend your position.
I think that's giving her too much agency.
Oh, okay.
Like, she summoned the knights, and the knights killed her. Like, I do not believe she committed suicide.
It felt like she did to me.
I think that's a perfectly valid way to read it. It doesn't seem right to me. Like, Hikaru, the girls could have not. It would have destroyed the world, but they could have not.
They had a choice.
They had a choice, and it was a terrible choice. But it was still something they did. With her, like, it's not something they did in a vacuum, of course. But it wasn't something that she did to herself either. Like, it was out of her hands.
But because she couldn't do it to herself.
Right. And that is weird, and I don't... Yeah. Like her whole thing is that she's the most powerful person in the world and she has no agency.
She has 0% agency.
Zero agency.
Like -% agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it just reminded me of like stuff that I've read, controversies over like assisted suicide.
Right.
Which I'm trying to remember because it's been a couple years, but like assisted suicide is legal in some countries where it's like if you want to die, you know, like medical professionals will help you, which is, you know, a thing that in America we perhaps ideologically are very against. We're like all about life is valuable, like whatever. I don't know.
I don't think that's across the board in America.
Well, sure.
This is actually something like I have not read up on the assisted suicide like debate specifically in a while, but having done a lot of work with older populations and sick people, we have had in rabbinical school in our introduction to like ethics course, like we do talk about how do we counsel people who are nearing end of life? How do we talk about like do we preserve life at all cost? Like do we counsel them to do that? Do we encourage them to seek out like palliative care or not to take like experimental things that only have a certain percentage chance of succeeding to preserve life? Like it's a very complex issue, obviously.
Right.
And the chaplain's sort of place in it is complex. But yeah, I don't think preserving life at all costs is the American ideal everywhere.
That's fair. We're a very large country. We have states. They all do different things.
Yeah. And we have all different religions, too. Like, yes, the Jewish ethic, like the traditional Orthodox Jewish thought is, yes, preserve life at above all. And it's not necessarily what I was taught.
That's fair. I just think it's very, like, reading the princess's story, I was definitely just like, this perpetuates, it felt like it perpetuated the myth, sort of, that, you know, people get very mad when others commit suicide because they're like, that's the most selfish act you could have done, sort of deal. Mm-hmm. And they get very mad about it, and they're like, you're going to hell and all these things. And I'm like, okay, I don't know.
I have never understood. I mean, like, I intellectually understand why, like, people get so angry about it.
Right.
And it certainly hurt everyone in this story.
Right, that's, like, kind of
everyone.
the point of it, right?
Right. But, like, I have never understood why people feel so, like, ownership over other people's lives.
Right.
And, like, in this case, this is not a good test case for this.
Yeah, right. Not the, and it's like, because they do, and you know, like her attempting to kill herself is kind of the one thing that she's trying to have agency over, right? Because it's kind of like,
right,
everybody else does sort of own her life. Like, she feels responsible to them, and they don't. We're not shown that they like pray to her or whatever. I guess they protect her, but it's kind of like,
no.
They
we
do.
See Presea prays to her.
Oh, that's nice. But also, we are shown only people who are like, I guess I don't know how close Presea is.
Oh,
like, seemingly everybody
knew
else
her. Yeah,
is like part of some high court ruling nonsense.
Yeah, like I don't know for sure like what Presea's like rank is, but she is up there. I don't think just any swordsmith would be friends with CLEF and be able to make the legendary Magic Knight
machines.
Machines. She didn't make those. She made the keys.
Yeah, she made the keys. Fine. I guess I had pulled out a line that, in my mind, supported suicide, which was, I didn't go back to check if Hikaru said this, but I think it was Hikaru. It was, you know, somebody explaining some stuff.
I think this was translated different in mine.
Really?
That's probably from volume 4, right?
It has to be 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But it's that the quote is, she tried to kill us with the heart that loves Zagato, and she tried to kill herself with her heart that loves Cefiro. And I was like, yes, exactly. She tried to kill herself. That's right.
Oh, you're right. Actually, that is what she says.
That's right. I know how to write down words.
No, but it's different. No, it's actually different in mine.
Wait, what is it in yours?
It is. So she says, the first part's the same. During the battle, Princess Emeraude tried to kill us with the part of her heart that cared about Zagato, the part that was saddened by his death. And then at the bottom it says, but she still tried to save Cefiro with what remained of her heart as pillar.
That is different. That is a different interpretation.
Yep, super different. I'm more inclined to believe yours.
I am too, just because Tokyo Pop is trash.
Ooh.
Controversial opinion? No, it's not even controversial. It's not controversial. Just everybody thinks Tokyo Pop's trash at this point.
Poor Tokyo Pop.
But yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not surprised they would change that for an American audience. On the whole, I think that Americans are very much more anti-suicide than a lot of other cultures.
right. That is what that's. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Is that America as a whole feels like it's much more unaccepting of suicide on like so many levels.
Yeah.
Than other countries.
No, I would agree with that.
Which is not to say that we're like being pro-suicide here. It's just that like you have to like have some level of empathy for people that commit suicide that I don't think is always shown in America.
Yes. And even if you can't show empathy, you could at least not lay claim to somebody else's life and decisions.
Right.
Is my thought.
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson that America could use across the board.
Across
the board.
Cool. Yeah, so it was very interesting to watch portrayed in this manga. It's basically my conclusion. We have different opinions about suicide, whether it was suicide or not, so that's good.
Right. But like, yeah, of course, it's good. We usually disagree more than this, dear listeners. I guess maybe we both like had Clamp as an influence in our lives so long ago that like we can't disentangle it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want to talk about, the other dark thing, conquering and gentrification?
Right.
Was the word gentrification used in yours at any point? Because it was in mine. I was like, wow, what's up?
No. Where was it used?
Okay, where was it used? It's a good question. It was early on. I think it was in the first part. And it was Umi talking. And she was making some joke about how long CLEF has lived. And then she was like, it's okay. I'm sure, he's lived long enough that like he's been gentrified at some point. Like,
whoa, no, that was not a thing in mine. Wow.
I assume not, but
getting current.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. 14-year-old saying the word gentrify. What's up?
Oh man. Okay. Although this has nothing to do with gentrification, but there was something else, and we said that it was the first time I saw it in print. And,
oh yeah?
It was in volume 5, and she's talking to CLEF, and she's apologizing to him for how she acted at the beginning, and she called herself really bitchy, and I can you imagine 12-year-old little Asher who has never heard a curse word in his life?
You were like, oh my god.
I was like, oh my gosh, who let them use this word? So I'm
what is
pretty
this
sure
rated?
I'm pretty sure that was the first time I saw.
It took away your innocence.
It wasn't the first time I heard a curse word, but like it was the first time like I saw it in something I was reading.
Your innocence was taken by Magic Knight Rayyearth.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was also the first time I saw like so many naked girls. Like, yeah, everything was tastefully like
they don't have
outlined.
Nipples.
None of that. But like I had never seen that. Anyway. Sorry, we were talking about conquering and gentrification.
Yeah, we were talking about gentrification. God. Okay.
Are we really talking about gentrification? I feel like that has a more specific meaning that doesn't really apply here.
It's more, it's more conquering.
Okay, fair enough.
I just really liked that Umi said the word gentrified. It made my day. some woke 14-year-olds in 1990s.
Yeah, not really.
But yeah, so I mean, we've got a lot of, 3 worlds are trying to conquer another one.
Right.
That's being defended by people from a different one.
Right.
That's a thing. That seems... In the end, this little utopian universe tries to spin it like, well, that's what God Makona wanted, for us all to communicate and live happily ever after, basically.
Right. I don't think...
CLEF's exact line.
Yes, that is what they said. I was just wondering if that was Makona's actual intent.
That's true.
Makona was very relying on people with the pillar system.
That's true, but was that his real... It's like in his deepest, darkest... In Makona's deepest, darkest hole in its heart. It's like, did it really want that all along,
I do think Makona had some kind of wish for everyone to have free will and take care of themselves. Otherwise, why would he have made Earth first, He only made Cefiro because he was so disappointed.
Yeah, he was so disappointed in the Earth.
If only he could see us now.
Oh, God. Oh, God, all right.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, so the wishy-washy thing that CLEF says is for us to look at others, talk with them, understand them, in order to build a better world. Maybe that's what the creator wished for by, like, making the world, like, by, because Makona in the end is revealed to have summoned the Magic Knights back, where before we were told that only the princess could bring them to Cefiro. And so CLEF is like, maybe Makona wanted this all along. I thought he was referring specifically to putting Cefiro near other countries. Yeah, and that too.
Not necessarily. Well, actually, yeah, that includes the whole Magic Knight Rayearth thing, because like there's really no need for them to come from another world.
Right, that was their whole argument. They're like, there's no need for this mechanic to exist.
Right. Well, the idea is that nobody in Cefiro can hurt the force that keeps Cefiro alive. Like, that does make sense to me, but it didn't have to be from, like, why didn't they have Magic Knights from Autozam,
Right.
Yeah.
So they explicitly are like, well, this mechanic doesn't make sense unless his ulterior motive all along
was to have influence from this place where individual will is, I guess, democratized. I don't want to go there.
I mean, come on, it's definitely playing with democracy here.
Right. It does go from a monarchy to sort of a democracy.
So some democracy that they're definitely still figuring out for themselves.
For sure.
Yeah, and I was like, cool, but also like conquering nations. Yay. Clamp. Right. Problematic.
Yes. I mean, do we go into any clamp property expecting it not to be problematic?
Do I go into any property period thinking it's not going to be problematic?
You shouldn't. All things are problematic. And if it doesn't seem problematic now, it will be. That or you are, benefiting from the whatever, from the status quo.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I never... I agree with CLEF, actually. Like, I think it's a good idea to look at other countries and learn from them. I mean, obviously, I don't think countries should be going around conquering each other.
Shouldn't fight for the pillar with each other and then almost kill each other.
Right. But I don't think anybody does anyone any good by being isolationist either.
Yes, as we are going to quickly learn in our isolationist future.
Right, I wasn't even
present.
Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking of that specifically. Mostly because I avoid thinking about that wherever possible.
Yes.
But I was also thinking about like how isolation breeds extremism in any kind of extremism. Like, people get farther apart as they do not talk to one another. Like, that's really obvious here in this country and really obvious in Israel where I was recently. And I assume obvious in other places too. But then there's so much debate on the internet over the past few years about cultural appropriation as well. Right. And I think a lot of it goes too far in that, yes, cultures touch. They exchange things. Yes, it's bad when you like make money and steal from other nations, but I don't know that like claiming ownership exclusively is A, possible, or B, like helpful.
Yeah, especially when it's like, you know, if people are doing things that they admire from other cultures, it's because they admire it. Like, you know, it is, I think, usually from a good place.
Right. And that doesn't mean like good intentions can have bad results.
Right.
But I'm very suspicious of any argument about cultural appropriation.
Good to know.
Right. Like, I do think it exists. I don't think it is as problematic on the regular as people make it out to be. Although maybe that's my experience as like a member of 2 model minorities. More than that, I guess. Like privileged minorities, relatively.
Right. I was like, what are the 2? I know the 2. I'm silly.
I'm Jewish and Asian.
Yes.
And I'm also LGBTQ, which is in a weird place right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I like clamps. I think in a Japanese context, it like makes a lot of sense. Right? Given the history of Japan.
Given Japan's very extreme experience with isolation and isolationism, yes. I'm not sure if it's strange that it's coming from a Japanese source or it makes sense. This was also I don't know enough. I don't know enough about like the cultural milieu. I can't pronounce that word. I don't know why I tried. Like I don't know about the zeitgeist in Japan in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And how they felt about globalization. I do think it makes sense given their structure that they came up with such a pat ending. If they had
They're like, how else can we end this?
If they had 3 more books just for this second half, I think it would have been more nuanced.
Yeah, it definitely is lacking in any nuance of like, hey, this nation that like destroyed itself over here wants to come and conquer this other one.
Right.
And then these other 2 are like, what? There also is a racial dynamic to it with the one that I can never remember.
Chizuta.
Yeah, Chizuta.
Or Chizeta. I don't know how to pronounce any of these things because I didn't watch the anime.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I know, right? That was the one thing that I was like, the anime would be helpful for this. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a racial thing with all of them.
There's a racial thing with all of them. Oh, because what's
Fawn is China.
One of them is
China.
Yeah, Fawn is China, but I always read its name and was like, but isn't this a German name? Whatever.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure Fawn is some sort of German word, yeah.
All right. There's a gender thing, too, because Autozam is represented by all dudes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Chizuta is all girls with guy spirits, which was kind of... I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah. And then China has a child girl ruler. I just called it China. I meant Fahren.
It's clearly China, damn it.
I mean, it is clearly China. Yeah. And then her servants are dudes. Although, do we see her other servants besides the old man and I don't know how to pronounce his name in your spelling? Sanyun is how it's spelled in mine.
I mean, that's probably how it's supposed to be pronounced. And I think they were just trying to go with a closer, perhaps Chinese spelling than...
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't remember seeing anybody else but those 2.
Okay. I think she may have had, like, background girls.
Oh. That's so not important.
I guess. It's not important, but, like, I do think that the gender presentation of these nations is important.
Right. That's interesting that America is the male one. Is it? That makes sense, I guess.
It makes sense to me.
You're like, the patriarchy is strong with this one.
Yeah, it is. Chizuta has girl servants.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any, but those two, yeah. But Chizuta was all women, plus is clearly some...
India.
Yeah, I mostly was like uncomfortable with the portrayal of India, basically.
Yes, naturally, of course.
Of course.
Because they're all sexy babes.
They're all sexy babes. They made fun of their, like, genies the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. That's the most problematic aspect, actually.
Oh, yeah. And I have a feeling that this is not limited just to Magic Knight Rayearth. Like, I think that a lot of East Asian countries that have Buddhist influence don't entirely know what to do with India. Because they got Buddhism from China. So, like, China was, like, you know, king of the world, of that part of the world for a long time. And still is in a lot of ways. And India just doesn't have that sort of historical prestige, like in the common perception, even though it's the origin of a lot of thoughts and philosophies and I think language as well. I would have to look that up again. I don't remember what Sanskrit became all over the place.
So yeah. So India and China and America were trying to conquer. Let's be real, Cefiro is kind of the mirror image of Japan.
Yeah, except they're all the Cefiro natives look, I guess this is like a manga thing, but they look European and they have European-ish names.
Right, that's the confusing thing about the names being all cars.
Right.
And then we have I can't remember any of their names. God.
Presea. Caldina.
Yes, Caldina. I was like, not
really?
Presea.
Well, Caldina's from Chizuta.
Right, but it's fun that she like immigrated.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
To Cefiro. Mm-hmm. That's fun. Immigration is cool. Conquering is not. This is basically the conclusion.
I'm cool with that. I like that.
Sharing ideas willingly. Cool.
Very cool. Yes.
Imposing ideas bad.
Very bad. Boo.
Boo. Glad we solved world problems. I guess the only other, obviously it deals a lot with sacrifice. What can or cannot be sacrificed. Apparently nothing can be sacrificed. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah. It's a very shonen lesson, I think. Like, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, definitely so much cake having and eating it too.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think it goes quite as far as all sacrifice is bad.
Sacrifice of life is bad.
Yeah, and like sacrifice of yourself is bad.
Giving up your true nature, heart.
Yeah, like compromising your ideals and also like your mental health. Like it doesn't want you to be sad.
I'm so very curious to like read all of Clamp's works eventually.
Oh, a lot of it's depressing.
Right, and to see the evolution, because they're all dealing with kind of the same ideas, right? Like they're very fraught on the grimdark sacrifice. It is the thing that troubles their creative minds the most, perhaps.
I would agree with that, yeah. I'm on the Clamp Wikipedia page, and it does say that a lot of what they deal with is fate. And it says here, apparently they come up with a different theme to work on each time, but I do think the themes sort of go together. Their works often deal with the theme of human fate that relates to Okawa's view on life. Okawa believes that fate is something you choose, not a mystical force manipulating your destiny, and that with determination and resolve, you can change your fate. Although then the next sentence starts, also common is the idea of soulmates or couples tied together by fate. So, I guess if you choose your fate, I guess I can agree with that.
Then you choose who to be with forever.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
I think that makes sense. But like, I also don't agree with the idea of soulmates, but I also don't like fate, period. So whatever.
You're like, there is no fate.
Fate is bunk.
Right, but I think that Clamp itself just, puts itself in more and more elaborate situations in which creating your own fate is hard.
Well, yeah, they're into it. I mean,
Super into
hitsuzen is fate, right? Like, that's their thing.
Okay, this is what I had. I was like, Jeff, is hitsuzen just a normal Japanese word? Like, why did that not get translated in XXX Holic and Tsubasa or whatever? Because apparently it is used in Magic Knight Rayearth at some point, but, it gets translated
as fate. Oh, is the Legend of the Magic Knights hitsuzen?
Well, it's supposed to be something that it means like inevitable.
Right. It's been a while since I read TRC. I know they actually define it in TRC.
Well, the Japanese word apparently just means inevitable.
Okay.
Which I guess is it is what fate does or supposed to do.
I do think there is a different quality to inevitable than fate. I'm like more okay with inevitable.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's that inevitable implies that something will happen, but it doesn't imply that you will make a certain choice, I guess. It's just
but you can make
weird...
a series of choices that just lead to the same inevitability.
No, I think I was thinking of it more in the opposite direction, I think, in that this situation will happen, but then you choose what to do with it.
So like you make a choice, it is your choice, but it leads to a different something inevitable.
Yeah, I guess so. Or the idea that certain people will meet. I think I like hitsuzen in the concept of people meeting more than in
meet cute stories.
Yeah, I guess. I think there is sort of an idea that certain people will meet due to whatever, but then I don't like the idea that our life choices are handed to us, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like dealing with fate and predestination
and sacrifice and hard things.
Sacrifice I've gotten better about, I guess.
Aw, that's nice.
Yeah.
You're like, is it?
I mean, I'm still not down with self-sacrifice, I guess, because I grew up on things like Magic Knight Rayearth, but and shonen. But I'm not. I don't believe in a life without sacrifice, I guess.
Right. I guess for me, it's kind of I wish that the end, because it definitely does feel a little saccharine. Is that how you say that word? I don't know.
Yes.
To be well, here was all of the mechanics that we were given, and in the end, we broke all the mechanics, but we saved everything.
Right.
Except the princess. And Sakura, I guess.
You can't undo death.
Yeah, you can't undo death, but after that we managed to salvage everything. And I'm kind of I don't know. I feel like you could have saved all the people and maybe just actually destroyed the world. I would have been the world can be sacrificed.
That's interesting. I like that, actually. Or sacrifice the world and then let the pillar create a new world. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or let them create a new world. Yeah.
Something had to give, but nothing did. And I was like, oh, come on.
I mean, they didn't have too many pages left by the end there.
Structure this differently, Clamp. Work with me.
Well, have they ever been good at that?
We got 28 volumes of Tsubasa, but only 6 volumes of Magic Knight. Actually, we got 31 volumes of Tsubasa if we include World Chronicle.
God. I think they've actually gotten worse at brevity. They used to be able to contain it.
But that's because I think that in their they keep going back to they haven't solved whatever is hung up in their minds, and they keep trying to add more and more, I suppose, nuance, and then you just get 6 Shaorans. I don't know.
Is that how many we ended up with?
I don't know. There were a lot. I don't know.
There were a lot. There were at least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the story of Clamp. I think I've summarized it pretty well here.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, they had another Hikaru very shortly after they finished Magic Knight Rayearth.
Really?
Angelic Layer started in, what does it say, 1999? Yeah, 1999. So Magic Knight Rayearth finished in 96. Angelic Layer it's cute. It's a little thing about basically like really small, it's a tournament manga. They fight with little action figures, like literal action figures because they act. And the main girl is named Misaki, but her angel is named Hikaru, and she actually based it off of Hikaru from Magic Knight Rayearth. Magic Knight Rayearth was a manga she read, so
okay,
it was cute. It was cute.
It was cute.
I liked Angelic Layer, but it was, I think, maybe emotionally more subtle and complex than Magic Knight Rayearth was.
Really?
Maybe because it doesn't. And
you haven't read that 10 million times, so you can't.
I haven't read it 10 million times. I've maybe read it 5 million times.
Okay.
It takes place in the real world, for one thing, and I think they have more of a... they have to be a little more realistic with emotion, I guess, in the real world. It's not... Things don't end up perfect, I guess, in the world of Angelic Layer.
Mm-hmm. As nothing can in a CLEF manga.
Right, except that Magic Knight Rayearth tries to say it isn't perfect when it looks real darn perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, y'all gave up nothing. Like you set up a world in which you had to give up a lot of things, but give up your innocence, I guess. But you didn't so much give it up as like learned stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good thing. I don't think innocence... If innocence is ignorance, I'm not into innocence.
That makes sense.
I think we've had this conversation before.
Probably. We talk a lot.
We do.
Okay, but we can talk... but let's talk about the cute things, which is in Shipping Corner.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There is actually a lot of ships. I really didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah. They packed a lot of ships into 6
They packed a lot of ship in there. Yeah.
But Clamp always does, actually. Like, they are very... I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of card captors, but... oh, no. What's it? Chobits does it, too.
That's true.
Everyone's in a relationship.
But I guess it's just... those things are set up to be more, like... I guess I just didn't expect this fantasy romp to be so romantic. And I mean, Suwasa is also a fantasy romp, but it centers around... the romantic relationship of Shaoran and Sakura. Right. Like, that's the whole thing.
Right. They didn't want... Like, Magic Knight Rayearth is not a romantic love story.
Right. But I will say that all of the ships were very cute. I'm just going to throw that out there before we name them.
All right. I'm glad. I thought... I mean, some of them are a little weird and they're all a little problematic.
They're all definitely problematic.
Everyone in Cefiro is like a zillion years old, and the girls are 14.
They're 14.
Anyway, I have long had problems with Clamp and their age difference ships.
Well, yeah. So the weakest ship that I think I put these sort of in order of strong
that's
to
interesting. This is your order?
I said kinda. Okay.
Fair want enough. No.
I tried.
Oh, do you want to list them then, and just so people can have the list and see what your rankings are?
You want me to just say them right now?
Yeah, go for it.
So first I put Rafaga and Caldina because I think that was limited to literally a panel.
Yes,
maybe 2.
That was literally a panel. No, 1 panel. Oh no, there was a second one in the 6th book, I guess. At the end, when everybody's happy.
Yeah. So literally 2 panels of that. Umi and Ascot, Fu and Firo, Hikaru and Lantis, Eagle and Lantis, Hikaru and Eagle. All 3 of them together really should be there too, but I would agree.
I honestly think that one, like, you don't break that one up.
You don't break that one is just all together. Just the 3.
All together, or Eagle and Lantis, because they were there first.
Okay. And Emeraude and Zagato.
Yes.
Those, I think that's a comprehensive list.
It's a pretty comprehensive list.
Do you have a favorite? Who's your OTP?
My favorite is Hikaru, Lantis, Eagle triad.
Okay. I mean, I should have expected that.
I don't think that's very surprising.
I don't think that's... You know who mine is? Can you guess? Do you know me?
I want you to tell me because I'm very curious, actually.
Fu and Firo.
Really? Huh. That's not what I would have guessed.
What were you gonna guess?
I don't know, actually, off of this list, but I didn't think it was going to be Fu and Ferio.
I think I didn't expect Ferio to pick Fu, and then, like, they get the most adorable scenes, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna ship it.
They're
That's
very
cool.
cute. Like,
yeah.
I do agree that all of these are very cute. Like, well, I don't know if Emeraude and Zagato is cute so much as it's, like, deeply heartbreaking and
Yes,
tragic.
more deeply heartbreaking and tragic there.
And a little uncomfortable because she looked 10, but...
Everybody else is cute.
I have some questions about Umi and Ascot also, but, like, yes, everybody is cute. Actually, I have questions about all of them because the girls are 14.
Yes. But the scenes that they are given are cute.
They're super cute. If Ferio is like the Cefiro equivalent of 15, I'm super okay with it.
I mean, yes, he looks the most close in their age, right? Like that.
Right.
So that
Fu
one
and
seems
Ferio
fine.
like look like the most typical couple, which is great
Yes.
because they're both such weirdos.
They're both such weirdos. And yeah, they just do cute things. Like their flirting is cute. And I'm like, I am here for this. Please.
Oh, did your translation give Ferio an accent?
Ooh. It was very light, I think. There were some moments
Huh.
of...
it was obnoxious in mine.
Oh, no.
Then it kind of disappeared entirely in the second
Again,
part.
yeah, I think it was inconsistent. Is the thing.
Okay.
But I don't think it was heavily present in Dark Horse version, no.
Mm-hmm.
What accent does he have? Just like drop in the R's?
Yeah,
Or
dropping the R's and the G's.
G's, yeah.
I think he said darn tootin' at some point, and I was like, oh, come on.
Darn tootin'.
I think he said, what was he talking about? I think he was talking about Zagato. He said he's darn tootin' strong. I was like, nobody talks like that.
Says that.
Nobody says that.
That's amazing.
I love that Ferio's a prince also, like, way to
Yes,
go,
wait,
Clem.
I didn't expect that twist either. I was like, I should have seen that coming. I am a very gullible story reader,
No,
despite how
it's-
many stories I read.
It's honestly impossible to predict that Ferio is a prince. Yes, you can infer that he knows the princess, but he doesn't look a thing like her.
That's true. He does not. Also, he has a bunch of dumb little scars on his face, and I'm like, that's fine.
I hate his ponytail, though.
Oh. He reminds
Please
me of
fix
like
his
a
hair.
Cyborg Zero. He reminds me of like the 009, basically, from Cyborg 009 with his hair.
They do have the same
minus-
hair.
Yeah,
minus
I know,
ponytail.
right? That's why I like him.
What's his name doesn't have a ponytail, though, right?
Yeah, no, he
Right?
doesn't
Come
have a
on.
ponytail.
Ponytail's stupid.
Ponytail.
If your hair is that short, you don't need a ponytail.
You don't need to do this little rat tail thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. But otherwise, I'm like, yeah, Furio. He's
They're
just so
cute.
good at flirting.
He's great at flirting. I love that, like, she was trying to be manipulative at first, and then he just, like, destroyed her.
So freaking good. Oh,
He is good at being romantic.
This little boy. He's probably like 150 years old, but you know, whatever.
Oh, I think he's more than that. Like, okay, so CLEF is 745.
Yeah, and he's the oldest one, right?
He's the oldest. He's older than Emeraude. But
Right.
Emeraude's pretty darn old, too. So Ferio could be anything.
There could be
He
anything.
could,
That's true.
he could be a couple hundred years old.
Whatever. He
Although the
doesn't
fact
look
that
it.
He doesn't look it. The fact that he looks like a young man and not a child makes me think he may be pretty young. Just judging by the people of Cefiro.
Minus CLEF. Everything's confusing. Who knows? It's I don't know.
Yeah.
I also thought that Umi and Ascot had like good, cute moments, even though I'm
They
like, what are
do.
you doing, Ascot? I don't understand.
They're really cute. I think they used to be my favorite ship.
Oh.
Now I'm just sort of really confused and uncomfortable with like the implications of maturity and age and Cefiro.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to do with that.
Don't know what to do with that. But obviously I also do support Hikaru marrying both Eagle and Lantis.
Right.
That should happen.
That should happen.
Maybe when she's a little bit older and they're not
When
like
all
literally.
of them are a little bit older. When she's like Give it 10 years.
Give it 10 years. See how you feel, you guys. Yeah.
I also, like, if it doesn't work out for Hikaru, I think Eagle and Lantis should marry each other.
They should do that first, and then, Hikaru can come over. And Rafaga and Caldina are they're there. Apparently that's the thing.
There. Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't know.
That's the thing. I kind of want Emeraude and Zagato to, like, reincarnate and have another chance.
Oh, yeah. No, that would defeat everything.
Oh, you want to keep some element of tragedy, I guess?
Yeah, man. I was all about the romance.
Okay. But what if one of these couples had a baby that was one of them?
Oh, yes. Please bring in all my favorite fanfiction tropes right here.
Yeah. Let's make it Eagle and Lantis' baby.
Yes. Eagle and Lantis'
and then
baby.
Make it Emeraude.
Yes. I agree. And then who has Zagato?
Another country.
Another country, yeah. The genies have Zagato. I think we solved it. We got it.
We fixed Magic Knight Rayleigh.
Yeah, I know. You got any other thoughts about anything you want to share?
This is not a strong ship, but they're the only ones left, so Presea and CLEF, thoughts?
No, I can't ship CLEF with anybody.
Fair enough.
He seems like an asexual little boy.
Fair enough. He's like everybody's grandpa.
Yeah, like, I do want... who would I put Presea with? That is a good question. She deserves somebody.
She's a lesbian.
Okay, well, that's fine.
How about the older princess from Chizuta? Or both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
No.
Yeah. No, that's weird. They're sisters.
Well, I guess... No, they could share. They share everything else.
That's true. Polyamory doesn't have to be a full triangle.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, I'm down. Now we officially fixed Magic Knight Rayleigh.
Exactly.
Yeah, do I have any final thoughts? No. I think we fixed Magic Knight Rayyearth.
Yeah. We could just end now. We fixed it.
Thanks for listening to Shojo and Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns. Can I say a lot of C's in a row? No.
You apparently can't, yeah.
Cannot. Need to gush about your OTP? I'm going to let that stand. Email shoujoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on shoujoandtell.com/Rayyearth. We're at Shojo and Tell on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Asher, where can people find you on the internets?
I also have a Tumblr at Asher Dashery, and I am working on a long-term podcast project myself called The Thousand Tree. So if you search, or if you type in tumblr.com, no, wait. The thousand tree, no spaces, no hyphens, .tumblr.com.
Cool. Are you excited every time you see a new episode from us? If so, please consider leaving a rating in iTunes or Stitcher. This will help the podcast reach more hearts, or at least ears. Thanks again for listening. Bye.
Bye.